For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. In the last few hours, Mexican authorities have revealed that suspects in the case of 43 missing students have revealed the students were all killed. Mexico's Attorney General says a total of 3 suspects in the high-profile case of 48 missing students have claimed all the students are dead. According to the Attorney General, the suspects confessed the students were all either choked or burned alive. Authorities say their investigation into the controversial case is still ongoing. The group of students disappeared in September while heading to protests in Guerrero State. And during a live televised press conference, the Attorney General of Mexico presented some of the findings of the state's ongoing investigation into the 43 disappeared students of Ayotzinapa. The Attorney General, Jesus Murillo, informed that on the basis of the testimonies of 3 detained individuals, the 43 students appear to have been assassinated.
A few hours ago, I informed the relatives of the disappeared youth on the progress of the investigation that I share today with general society. I know this information we have given them has caused immense pain, a pain we share as we stand in solidarity. The testimony and confessions that we have obtained, as well as the other findings that are part of the same investigation, indicate, most sadly, that a mass homicide was carried out in the Cocula area.
To Central America now, the Honduran government will soon approve a more than $8 billion budget for next year. Experts say that the government won't be able to collect enough from taxes and international aid to foot the bill. As our correspondent Gerardo Torres reports, many call it just another propaganda stunt.
The External Debt Social Forum of Honduras, the most respected economy studies center in the country, presented in Tegucigalpa a strong critic of the 2015 Honduran budget that the National Congress is about to approve. The expert in external debt insisted the government economic forecast for next year is overly optimistic and that there is almost no investment plan to generate the necessary income.
Debieran estar orientados.
Funds should be orientated towards public investment. That's where the least amount of resources have been assigned and where the implementation has been the lowest. This could probably be the area where we could see the most gains, and it could also improve the administration and the cost of salaries.
Empuje nosotros pretenderíamos hacer. Y lo otro es intentar mejorar en el tema del gasto por sueldos y salarios.
Experts from the External Debt Social Forum of Honduras are also worried about substantial reductions in the health and education budgets of at least $100 million. The Honduran government is projecting an increased budget for the military, and the allocation for education is only 10% of what was requested by the minister.
Más bien tienen una tendencia a la disminución. En el caso de salud, el presupuesto plurianual, en el caso de salud,
there is a tendency to reduce. They are reducing the annual health budget without acknowledging that the Honduran population is growing 2% annually. If we consider that the coverage and quality of the health services is already on the decline, how can they also propose a decreased budget in health until 2018?
De salud, ¿cómo es posible que se esté proyectando una caída de valores corrientes de presupuesto hasta el 2018.
In the 2015 budget that will be approved this month, the number of public employees is increasing, with more than 70% of the budget for poverty-reducing programs eaten up by salaries. There is little doubt that the country will increase its debt and deficit next year. Gerardo Torres, Telesur.
And thanks to Gerardo, now we go to Argentina, where the explosion of a chemical plant has left nearly 66 people injured. In Cordoba, the explosion also caused material damage to nearby areas. The blast could be heard throughout the city of Cordoba, and some neighborhoods lost everything in the explosion. Emergency workers were sent to the scene to help victims. The Security Secretary, Matias Prerroden, says authorities are starting to gather information and survey the damage. Most of the damage consists of broken windows and cars. Some residents returned to their homes today to begin cleanup efforts. Bolivia continues its bid to regain access to the sea. For how the country's leaders plan to continue their fight, Here's our correspondent David Doherty.
Bolivia has filed its latest legal argument to the International Court of Justice in The Hague over its bid to recuperate sovereign access to its former Pacific coast, lost to neighboring Chile in the 1879 War of the Pacific. The legal case was first filed by Bolivia to the court in April of 2013. The argument submitted by Bolivia today is a legal response to a motion filed by Chile in July, questioning the jurisdiction of the court to hear the case. Oral arguments for the challenge will be heard in early 2015, and we can expect to hear a response by the court over whether or not they will hear the case, to be released sometime at the end of next year. Bolivia's legal argument is based upon several treaties made with Chile following the war. During the war, Chile, backed by the British mining industry, took possession of 120,000 square kilometers of mineral-rich land and coastline belonging to Bolivia. Bolivia says the loss of its access to the Pacific Ocean has had a profound impact on the country's economic development, which continues today. Reporting from La Paz, David Doherty, Telesur.
And thanks to David, 14 explosions have targeted the homes of Fatah leaders in the Gaza Strip. For who could be behind the attacks, we go to our correspondent in Palestine, Noor Harazin.
The Gaza Strip witnessed the most horrific experience since the end of the Israeli Protective Edge Offensive. The residents of the Strip woke up on at least 14 explosions that rocked areas in northern, central, and eastern Gaza City as an unidentified assailant targeted the homes and cars of several Fatah leaders in the Gaza Strip with explosive early Friday. The explosives also targeted a platform located in Al-Katiba Square, central Gaza, that was set up to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the death of PLO chairman and Fatah leader Yasser Arafat.
These actions will bring division back to the Gaza Strip. We were so happy knowing that there is a unity government and everything was going to get better. However, what happened last night threatens the unity government's success. I myself prefer to believe that the Islamic State did it, rather than accusing Fatah or Hamas.
Al-Qawasmi, an Fatah official in the West Bank, said that the attacks aimed to sabotage the commemoration of the anniversary of Arafat's death, while Fatah Central Committee member Hussein al-Sheikh blamed Hamas for the attacks. But the Hamas movement, in a statement, condemned the incident, calling it a criminal act, accusing other Fatah members of planning the attacks due to the internal Fatah problems. Fatah and Hamas signed a unity deal in April 2014, ending 8 years of the devastating Palestinian division. However, these recent incidents are threatening the strength of such agreement, probably bringing it to a halt. Noor Harazin, Telesur TV, Gaza.
And thanks to Noor, now we go to Sierra Leone. Malin, one of the 149 chiefdoms, has basically been split into two. The land has fallen almost entirely into the hands of a palm oil multinational corporation. Here's our correspondent Oscar Epelde.
The bridge over the Siwa River opens a route for the most precious goods that sustain the town of Es Leon, the lands that make up their life. The rural workers are left to Malin or do odd jobs as laborers for the multinational corporation. They don't earn enough to pay for secondary education, but they also do not have their own workable land.
They are suppressing us. We own the land. They have no regard for we, the landowner.
They belong to the paramount chief of Malin, who does not even live here, and Sokfin, who negotiated the contract without the participation of the farmers.
No voluntary something that is taking place in Malin. It is a compulsory. We are doing it under duress.
Some residents say that they are happy being paid as laborers because they fear they will be crossed off the list. But these women say that conditions are unacceptable.
We have lost our livelihood, and the mothers cannot even take care of the little ones because they give us work from sunrise to sunset.
The young people have abandoned their studies in order to work, so that they are able to pay for next year's studies. The work of women is to clean all around the palm oil. They need 146 plants to earn just $3. The work might include an activity that also destroys the ancient ecosystem by eliminating protected forests, fruit trees, medicinal trees, and polluting wetlands with chemicals and destroying biodiversity that the Mende people have protected. The compensation given to them for the destruction of their land was not fair. Instead of counting the acres of each family, they counted only the trees that they had, only these trees, native palms that traditionally produce oil. For every 60 trees considered an acre, they gave them one-time payment of $2.25 per acre.
We are saying that this is a pittance. We will not accept it. If it is 1 million euros because it has happened, then it should be paid annually. And that we still stand by it. And each family land should know how many acres he or she, they have.
Alone against the power of the capital in the law, Malian rural workers call for solidarity to achieve a revision of the large gains by the multinational corporation. From Punjahan, Oscar Epele for Telesur.
And thanks to Oscar, the work might include an activity that also destroys the ancient ecosystem by eliminating protected forests, fruit trees, medicinal trees, and polluting wetlands with chemicals and destroying biodiversity that the Mende people have protected. The compensation given to them for the destruction of their land was not fair. Instead of counting the acres of each family, they counted only the trees that they had, only these trees, native palms that traditionally produce oil. For every 60 trees considered an acre, they gave them a one-time payment of $225 per acre.
Gittikçe artırarak Müslümanların tepkilerini ölçüyor. Bir planın işlemekte olduğu görülmeli. 2012 kafirler hesap verecek. İsrail kafirler hesap verecek. Canımız feda olsun aksayasın küresel intifada saya selam.
And we go to Yemen now, where the capital Sana'a has also been engulfed in protests. Demonstrators are protesting against a U.S. call for international sanctions targeting the country's former president and leaders of the Houthi movement. The Houthis have taken control of large swaths of the country from the U.S.-backed government, including Sana'a. For years, Yemen has been a key U.S. ally in the Middle East. We move to the Netherlands, where a United Nations court has ordered the release of a former Serbian politician accused of war crimes. Vojislav Šešelj has been detained for a decade in The Hague while awaiting a verdict on allegations of inciting murder and ethnic cleansing during the Yugoslav conflict. Šešelj is now suffering from cancer and will be flown back to Serbia. And finally, Cuba's biennial ballet festival has wrapped up in Havana. This year, the event drew artists from around 30 countries. The festival has been running for 5 decades and is one of the oldest and most respected events in the ballet world. Plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Hope you have a great weekend.